All right. So anyway, okay.
Hello.
Hello, hello, everybody.
Yes. Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody tonight?
Yeah, kind of got my sound checks mixed up there. I was about to do the sound check I normally do for my streamer.
Ah, well, I heard us on the main stream. I had to go over and mute it before, so it would mess me up as we were going along. Because usually I don't have it
Um,
muted before we start.
well, actually, I did. I did. Okay, so apparently, I had two of my tabs open to my YouTube screen, not just the one. So, anyways,
Ah,
hey
lovely.
there, Elk. Hail Xenu and Xena. Um, Hail Xenu and Xena. Hey, hail. All right, so here's okay. So now that I got all that figured out here, um, and I did close out the window with the other YouTube screen. So now I have just the one
Yeah.
YouTube one the tab with the one YouTube screen that it's muted. This one, and then of course all the other tabs I have for my references, like the stories we're going to go over tonight, the This Day in Each History segments, all that. So, anyways, so hello, Rick. Happy Hump Day to you. And of course, in this case, before anybody decides to throw in any double entendres there, as it were, um, we're meaning, of course, Hump Day, meaning getting over the hump of the week, as Wednesday is the middle part of the week, and everybody likes to call it Hump Day to take note of the fact that we're getting over the hump of the week, or the middle part of the week.
Yeah.
We're at the peak. We're at the peak of the week, and now we're gonna start,
It's all
descending into the
downhill from here.
right. Exactly. So, Rick, how'd your day go?
Yes.
How's your week going? How's your day going today?
Today went pretty good. Got a video job interview set up for Friday at 1 p.m. So hopefully that goes good. Um, that's with the Home Depot. That's a sort of a big hardware type store, home improvement type store, stuff that you can get stuff at, so I got that. That was good. I went out, did a few things, minor stuff. Yeah, it was a good day overall.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And of course, because you said what you said, Elk's
Um,
gonna. Oh,
just ignore it.
oh.
Just ignore it. Anyways,
But yeah, and how did your day go today?
all right. Lately my SSI checks have been, my SSI checks been coming early. They usually supposed to come on the first of the month, but they've been coming more towards the end of the month. So that came in. So, and I was getting down to the down to the like to just barely have enough money to get through the rest of the week here, to now to where I'm, got a nice cushion get me through the rest of the week here. So, called a friend of mine to set up an appointment to get all this taken care of. You
Your
know,
hair,
yep. Um,
so it doesn't become a hairy situation.
well, yeah, you could argue that you could make the point that I've always got a hairy situation because I'm one of those. I cut it all off, when it gets warm, and then let it grow. Just basically it's either this or completely gone. So,
Oh,
so
oh
and
yeah,
that I set up for this Saturday, of course. So
yeah,
with that,
and yesterday,
and
last night,
when, yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say yesterday too. I had Roland Mann from Silverline Comics on my channel and interviewed about his campaign. He actually used to work for Malibu and Marvel at one time. Marvel more because Malibu got bought by Marvel. I don't think so.
The only fans stretch out that SSH. Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I would attract too much of a following on super fans. I'm not. I'm not 6'3", 250 pounds, all muscle. So, konnichiwa. Oh yeah, Goodnight Spoon came on last night and said that you needed to stop doing your shows at 1 a.m. I guess that's where they start where he's at. But
oh, he's teasing. He's in the same time zone as me.
Yeah. Well, I did at least pop in to like and share last night for you. So I did at least do that much. I trying to keep up on some of the other stuff going on. So, anyways, and of course.
So, what do we have on tap for tonight?
Yeah, I guess it's a good. Let's see. You don't know that, Rick? All right. Well, I guess that would. Before, of course, I do get into that, I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't already, you guys can like and share the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here we talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. We'll try to answer questions to the best. We got some comic news and some anime news tonight, all from Bleeding Fool, including an article, "What Was Wrong with a Comics Accurate Reed Richards in the MCU." Also, there's some talk of so the showrunner for My Adventures with Superman is penning his own comic with, according to the headline here, same flaws. And also, they got more stuff to tell us about an update on the second season of X-Men 97. So we'll be going over those three articles tonight. In here.
Could be some interesting articles for sure. And you're right, good night. Since I've never met you in person, you're right. I don't know it for sure. I'm just going by what you've told me in the past.
All right. So anyway,
indicated in the past.
All right. So with all that being said, of course, why don't we get into the first article then?
Yes, because depending on
I don't know if these will be super controversial or not, but I guess we will just wait and see. Let's see. It's 1 a.m. somewhere. 1 a.m.
somewhere. This is true. Thus, I cannot with that logic, I cannot not start at 1 a.m. for wherever it is 1 a.m.
I think it's 2 a.m. right now, or just past. It's like, say it's 6:09, I guess. In
5 hours
right now, so I think it's 2:09 in England, in like British Isles, as it were. So
yeah.
All right, well, let's get into this first article then. All right. So here we go. What was wrong with a comics accurate Reed Richards in the MCU? Article by Todd Fisher, published today, May 29th. And of course, don't forget, folks, we'll have, of course, the wrestling wrap up and this day in each history segment as well. So we will do that.
Is this guy a new guy? I haven't heard that name, Todd Fisher, before. I don't think.
I think I've done one or two of his articles before. We don't do a lot of his articles, but obviously the guys who I think do most of the article writing on here are. It's probably new for you because this may be one of the first times you've seen them. But I've seen them like once or twice before. I think there's some other guys like John Oliver who are also
Is this the same site for Avi, or is Avi a different site?
What was that?
Is this the same site for Avi, or is this
the other Avi's on this site as well. So most of the time Avi and Chris Braley are the two that we. Yeah, Chris Braley, who actually owns Bleeding Fool, who owns the site here. He usually I do him on Thursday when I do the Indie Comic Showcase. In fact, you should know that because you were his guest at one time.
Yes. Well, see, he just sends out an email. You answer the questions, and then he writes it based on that. Not that there's anything wrong with it. We don't actually converse like this. But again, it's all right, Good night, Princess. I have a question, but it's not related to this current topic. Well, lots of people ask questions that aren't related to the current topic. You can ask.
Go ahead and ask it. Go ahead and ask it. If we can answer it, we will. Usually, I prefer you ask questions that are related to the topic, but we still. But I'm not gonna not try to answer it if it's not related to the topic. Depending upon what the question is. I mean, granted, there will be certain questions I won't answer for certain obvious reasons, but go if you're gonna ask it, go ahead. Feel free to ask it.
Yeah.
Until you do, I think I'm gonna continue on with the article.
Get on with the article.
Yeah. Well, now we got another comment here.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it puts a few camels in there. Doris the camel had 10 humps. Doris the camel had 10 humps.
Yeah. Sometimes when Hollywood decides to roll the dice, throw caution to the wind, and cast actors against type, it can create some truly unforgettable cinematic experiences. For example, when a goofball like Adam Sandler takes on the role of a psychologically troubled small business owner in Punch Drunk Love, or when Charlize Theron underwent a drastic transformation to play Eileen Wuornos, a real-life prostitute turned serial killer in Monster.
Okay.
Race swaps are usually less well received, although there are occasional exceptions like Michael Clarke Duncan's run as Kingpin in the much despised 2003 Daredevil, or Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, which, to be fair, was an adaptation of the Marvel Ultimate Universe's version of the character. So yeah, that one was probably at least in line with a particular, wasn't like.
And the Kingpin in the first Daredevil movie was. The guy's a good enough actor, but I did not like him as Kingpin. He wasn't big enough. He didn't really even have the right pizzazz, and that's only part of him. That's not partly the actor's fault. It's the writer's fault and the directors.
Yeah.
But I think Good Night Spoon's got his question there.
All right. Well, let me switch back up. So let's take a. All right. I was just wondering why everyone in this corner of the internet is stupid. Not you.
Not you.
Not you. But this whole Ricada. But this whole Ricada thing, no new developments, but everyone and their mothers do 4-hour streams to say nothing. Well, okay, first off, I've chosen unless people have asked me anything directly about it. I've chosen not to interject
You're
anything.
not going to be doing any two more
Yeah, I'm not. I'm
about
not
it.
gonna. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna be. I'm not gonna be saying too much about it. I have my. I have my views.
Yeah,
But as to your point, though, I don't know if it's exactly nothing because there have been developments that have happened in the last couple of days. I mean, the arrest warrant. I guess the probable cause statement came out, and then the arrest warrant. Um, one of the things I was kind of talking with Rick about before the show here was how quickly people change it. At first, they just thought, well, Nick may have been getting a raw deal and all that, but as more details came out, now everybody wants to crucify him. You know, I'm not going to go as far as to demonize or vilify him. I'm just going to
yeah,
say that he's somebody who made a very stupid
yeah.
choice.
But you're not
And
going to praise them either. You know.
yeah. Basically, the dude screwed up. The dude screwed up royally. Okay,
Yeah,
and it's one of those ripple effects. It not just affected him, but it affected his wife. You know, and it
yeah.
affected his kids. You know, people
But
are saying, well, because he neglected his kids, he's a monster. But again, I don't want to get too much into that
yeah,
aspect.
but I think what more Goodnight Spoon is getting at, you can take the Ricada law thing, and throw in any whatever the current
Right.
topic is or whatever. People get on and do streams for 4 hours or 3 hours or more or whatever, and say nothing. And
Well, I
unfortunately, it's
think it
just
depends.
because
It depends on who you're talking about too, though. Like
yeah,
there are
he's just
people who are
talking.
people who are close. There are people who are closer to Ricada who considered him a good
Yeah,
friend,
yeah,
who are legitimately worried for him and his family. People like Tug, people like Yellow Flash,
yeah,
and you have those in the Law Tube community too, who
yeah. But,
but
but like I
anyway,
said,
let me
I,
get because apparently there's a bunch of comments here. Let me get through the rest of these comments and then try to get back to the article here. Every day,
that's going with the last one. I guess you needed one more word. Do
yeah,
4 hour
Rick, let me get through these articles real quick or comments real quick. YouTube and social media thrive on darker human impulses and communication. Um, to a point, you're
Yeah,
right. I would somewhat disagree because look, I'm somebody who doesn't really try to drive on the darker impulse. Maybe
yeah,
that's
yeah.
why I don't
But
have as many people watching. But
and exactly that. It thrives on that. The more darker you get, it seems the more views or likes or follows or whatever you get.
all right, good night, Spoon sitting here saying I would have more respect for these people if they did 4 hour streams saying, quote, I have no information, I have no insight, I have no thoughts of my own. Um, but I have very strong opinions and baseless theory. Let's see. You should see you should see the savage infighting in the Scientology community. Um, it is what it is. I'm more curious about why people won't shut their mouths when they have nothing to say. Well, again, as far as I know, at least like as I said, there are some people who I think do have something to say, just giving their own personal perspective, because they're actually
Yeah,
people who actually have known Ricada. Like I
yeah.
would
Well,
put, I would Rick. Let me finish. I would put more credence in things that, let's say, like Tug and Yellow Flash, because they actually knew Ricada and you know, they were more closer to him than, let's say, somebody like Ethan Van Sciver. And I know he's gone and he's on right now talking about the Ricada situation. Okay, Rick, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's more what I think. Good Night Spoon's talking about is people like Ethan or whatever that don't know anything about the situation really, and they just go and spout off whatever based on whatever little bit of information they have.
Yeah,
Because there's tons of YouTubers doing it, right? And
there's even some infighting within the law tuber community too. You guys have guys on one side who, well, there's people who are saying that guys like Michael Barnes are still simping for Nick, while the other guys are like, okay, ready to crucify him. But it's like, anyways, let me get through the rest of these, and then let's get back to the article at hand, the one that And yes, I'm aware, everybody, that the Nick Rekieta story is not going to be going away anytime soon. We're going to probably be at this for at least another, week, 2 weeks or so, at least. So I'm well aware of that. Elk, you have my interest peaked. Let's see. Former Scientologists are streaming hours daily while attacking other former Scientologists. Let's see. Like the Leah Remini stuff. Let's see. Okay, so they're just talking more about Scientology between them, but I'm just curious enough to look it up. All right. So, anyways, I just wanted to get through that. Let's of course. I'm going to say one more thing, and I'm going to just kind of try to capsulize my thoughts real quick here on the Rekieta situation, and then we're going to get back to the article. I think there is a difference between people like, as I said, Tug and Yellow Flash covering it because they were closer to him. And there are people who have been his friends and people in the law tube community, and others like Ethan that, I would probably be a little more critical of Ethan. Again, I still may go back and watch the streams afterwards just to know what they're saying. But the thing is, though, is like, ultimately Nick made Nick and his wife, Nick and Kayla, made some very stupid choices. They had some very stupid associations, and in doing that, they won some very stupid prizes. Okay, and that's more of a sarcasm there when I say stupid prizes than anything else. So, So, anyways, look into Aaron Smith Levin. Oh, okay, I guess he's another Scientologist. But anyways, let's do what this show does best and focus more on positive stuff and look at other things other than watching the downfall of a YouTuber.
Yeah, and we were at the Marvel Universe also saw.
Yeah, okay. The Marvel Universe also saw a black version of Johnny Storm in the last film outing of the Fantastic Four with Michael B. Jordan as the Human Torch, which was received quite poorly, but not because of his race. Well, especially
I would have to say it was partially.
Yeah. It might have been partially, but also I think, as we all know, at least when the Fantastic Four were originally created, if they made Johnny Storm black and Sue Richards white, that would cause another issue there, because continuity issue there, because the Invisible Girl, Susan Storm Richards, and Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, were brother and sister, as everybody knows.
Yeah, so, and that's exactly what they did. They said one of them was adopted in it. The film itself, that was one of the reasons it was received poorly, because of messing with Johnny Storm like that. And the movie was just bad. It wasn't even as good as the first one with what's her name?
This is the 200th. This is a cover of the 200th issue, 17th anniversary spectacular of the Fantastic Four. So, in 2022, the Marvel Cinematic Universe was casting actors for a new take of the Fantastic Four, specifically the leader, Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic. After a bit of fan casting online, the Disney's acquisition of 20th Century Fox Studios, it was reported that John Krasinski had signed on for a soon-to-be produced Fantastic Four film. It turned out that he was only going to cameo in last year's abysmal Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, where he had only a few minutes of screen time and was violently killed on screen by the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, it doesn't mean he couldn't appear as another version of, Reed Richards in the multiverse. Because there'd be several that would be him. It's hard to say whether they'll do that or not. And they're just still talking Scientology.
Okay. I'm just trying to see what was being said. All right. So, anyways, many fans were disappointed in this outcome, but hoped that with the multiverse being introduced to the MCU, that might only be one outcome for, in smaller quotes, stretch, but that was not in Marvel Studios' plans. According to MovieWeb, Marvel had a different vision in mind for the character, and Multiverse of Madness was only ever intended to be a bit of fan service so fans could see what he would be like in the role before brutally killing him off to signify that that wasn't the direction
They were going.
Yeah. It sounds almost like a bait and switch, right? It's like, okay, we'll give you guys what you want. We'll give you guys a classic, and then what we're gonna do, once we give you guys a classic, we're gonna stick our middle finger up at you and tell you where you go stick it, and and we're gonna kill this guy off because he doesn't fit with our agenda.
Yeah, well, I get that, and to Goodnight Spoon, I get that it probably is a tangent, but hey, I'm just saying they could, they could use the same actor, they could not, and they probably won't just because they want to screw the fans. God forbid they actually do something the fans want.
All right. So, anyways, within a year, they announced that the Mandalorian star Pedro Pascal had been offered and accepted the role of the patriarch of Marvel Comics, in quotes, first family. And now we've learned that the Chilean-born actor wasn't even the first, quote-unquote, diverse actor the studio had considered.
The guy that's playing the Mandalorian, I don't think is a bad choice. I think he could do a good job. Makeup can do wonders. Can you get the quote unquote voice right?
Well, I think we're about to find out why he wasn't the first choice and why they had issue with him. Because this next statement right here is going to tell us that very thing. So Rahul Kohli, a British actor of Indian ethnicity, and I believe when they say Indian ethnicity, I believe they mean as in Asian Indian.
East Indian.
Yeah. Who recently appeared in The Fall of the House of Ushers and Death and Other Details, recently revealed to Deadline that he was also in consideration to play Reed Richards in the upcoming Fantastic Four film. Quote.
Now, I don't know what I was going to say, I don't know what he looks like, but just that idea sounds wrong.
Well, my guess is I think reason they probably wanted more like Rahul there, probably because he had a darker skin tone.
Possibly, yeah.
And they want to push that. They basically with a lot of these mainstream studios, it's like Caucasian white actors bad, everybody else good. The darker you are, the better you are. Is what their mindset is.
Yeah.
Quote, yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it, but I didn't get it, is the important thing. But on good days, I see the Constantine, unquote. Coley was responding to a question about how it felt being fan casted as Mr. Fantastic. Coley didn't go into any further details about how far along in the process he had gotten before finding out it wasn't going to be him.
So he's saying I've seen this thing where fans do it, but fan cast it. Who is this? The actor that they're saying that didn't get it?
What was that?
Or said he did. That picture, is that the actor that they say who said he didn't get it?
It may be.
The picture doesn't say who
I'm
he
not.
is.
Well, yeah, they don't say the pic. They don't give an indication.
If that's Maruli, I don't think he would have been a bad choice.
Yeah.
He looks like he could easily be Mr. Fantastic. So, like I said, I didn't know what he looked like. So, seeing that picture, if that's Maruli, I wouldn't have thought it was a bad choice myself. At least not appearance wise. I don't know any other thing. Could he have pulled it off? That's a different thing altogether.
All right. So, anyways, let's finish up this article here, and then get ready to move on to the next one. Wow, we're already at the 32-minute mark.
Yeah.
Does anyone else find it more than a little bewildering why Marvel Studios was set on replacing John Krasinski with an quote-unquote actor of color? Or are you one of those people that believe that my even noticing this trend makes me a quote-unquote racist?
No, I would.
Well, he wasn't the only one who didn't I just say that very thing?
Yeah.
I think I made the same. I think I kind of made the same point there, didn't I? Just as we were going over the article. All right. So, anyways, let's get ready to move on to the next article. Actually, Rick, if you can talk to the chat for a moment, because I do need to step away from the computer for a moment. I'll be right back.
Okay. So how did everybody like the interview last night? Well, I'm presuming Goodnight Spoon really liked it because he was there to the end chatting. And how is everybody doing tonight? I see you guys are still talking about the Scientology stuff. Not really my thing, but yeah, Gina is quite attractive. Who's Gina? I'm sure Elk was probably there to the end, but not chatting so much. And just remember, you have till Sunday to get that. Jenna, I guess I should have said, not Gina. I was pronouncing the J wrong. More like a G. Sometimes a G can sound like a J and J. I'm quite guilty. I fell asleep, but it was fascinating until I. Well, the great thing is you can go back and listen to it if you want to hear more of it. Jenna Miscavige. Okay, I don't even know who that is. What's she been in? Goodnight Spoon. Or who has she played? His niece of the current Pope of Scientology. Oh, okay. Cultist. Okay.
All right. So, anyways, now let's get into this next article. Now that I'm back, I take it they're still talking. I take it they're still talking about Scientology, Rick.
Yeah, they are.
All right. Well. So this should get Elk's attention at the very least. His favorite columnist had written this article. Avi. My Adventures with Superman showrunner pens comic with same flaws. Article by Avi Green, published today. DC Comics writer Josie Campbell. So this is Miss Campbell right here. All right, she's one of those who's kind of got the she's kind of shaved off a portion of her hair and then just still has the rest of it. Interesting look there, to say the least. So, Newsrama interviewed Josie Campbell, one of the writers, producers of the very PC-influenced My Adventures of Superman cartoon, who's now writing a tie-in comic, which, if I hadn't noted it before, shows they sure know how to make Lois Lane look as ugly as the artwork itself.
I wouldn't say Lois looks ugly in that show, but she doesn't look drop dead.
Basically, aside from Clark, they basically have race swapped everybody, or all of his main characters, at least, all his main supporters. Yeah. It's like aside from Clark, they basically race swapped Perry White, they race swapped Jimmy Olsen, they race swapped Lois Lane. So, and going into the article here, it put my roommate on a massive Superman kick, which I love because I love Superman, and I think it's obvious from the show and the comic that you do too. Superman is
I would say no, it's not.
They don't need to have respect for the history of it. That much is for sure. But Superman is my number one. My first two comics were Superman and Wonder Woman. It was during the Death of Superman arc, so I really came into it hot, and I was like, "quote Oh man, I love Superman. I love all the reign of Superman characters too." I was just totally enthralled from day one.
So you figured when you went into writing Superman, a cartoon of it, you would do everything to undermine who and what his people are. Good job.
Mm-hmm.
At that love.
Mm-hmm. Stay minimum. Stay shaved hair. Stay minimum. Well, okay, I will shave my head on occasion, but I at least shave my entire head, not just a portion of it.
I think he's more talking because she's a girl. Girls with shaved heads usually spell some sort of trouble.
Yeah. Anyways, continuing on with the article here. Gee, anybody who's going to quote unquote fall in love with the Man of Steel's title based on something so overrated is not doing much to convince. Yet, it's not surprising somebody who produced a cartoon where Lois Lane is almost masculine as an almost masculine looking tomboy, and Jimmy Olsen appears to be race swapped, would be the one to claim Soups is her numero uno favorite.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, unfortunately, somebody's already race swapped Jimmy beforehand, so she just let's go along with it. And the same with Perry, they've race swapped him already, so let's just go along with it. Let's just add a character race swap to the mix. More, won't we be really Gilly Whiz Keen awesome then?
Won't we really be raking in the DEI money, right? As some people would say. Far as I'm concerned, Campbell's just somebody raised under a PC mindset who decides to latch themselves onto specific creations and proceed to force their PC viewpoints onto said creations, regardless of what the original creators would think, and worse, take advantage of the unfortunate likelihood the creators would remain silent, since the Golden Age was an era where it was believed you shouldn't speak poorly of the places you're worked. Okay, the typo there. I think it should be you've worked or worked for, nor how they handled what was originally Siegel Schuster's creations. And that's kind of, that is kind of because the idea of not speaking poorly about the companies you work for or formerly worked for, there's a word for that. Rick, do you know what that word is? It starts with a P.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking you're going to say respect, but obviously not. I'm not sure what you would say exactly. What word you were thinking of?
Okay. For those who wouldn't speak, ill of the companies they work for or had worked for in the past, it was back then. It was considered what is called professionalism.
Oh, okay, yeah. But it depends on what you're speaking ill of, like because if a place is doing wrong or they've done you wrong, I can see speaking a little bit ill of or bringing it up. It catch-22. If they're a good company and they've been treating you good, you don't really want to speak ill of them. But if they're doing something wrong, yeah, I guess they're paying your bills, and you shouldn't bite the hand that feeds you, right? I guess there's always that thought that you should bite the hands that feed you.
Yeah, but anyways, continuing on here. What's galling about my adventures with Superman is that the character design choices are so deliberate, and the way Campbell boasts about her alleged fandom is laughable. If she and her staff won't draw Lois with long hair, that's telling something. Ditto if they won't draw her with a big chest.
Well, they don't even have to draw her with a big chest. Maybe an average size chest, medium sized chest. We got Goodnight Spoon saying, I have more questions. Well, as long as they're more topic related, that would be better. And then Alex says, I can't wait for Superman to hold a sign saying river to the thing. Free. A certain place will be free. Yeah, well, probably you'll see that Jonathan Kent do that. The son of Superman.
Yeah, they had him. They had him in a in a climate change rally. So why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So back to the article they're referencing here. Then, so we're talking about the My Adventure of Superman comic today. So I want to ask you, how did the idea to do the comic, bridging a gap between seasons 1 and 2, come about? How did the whole thing get started? And then I guess she answered here. Well, we had finished season 1, and in the week in between, DC reached out to us, and to me specifically, because I've been writing other things for DC, and said that they wanted to do a comic tying into the series because everybody over on the publishing side are also big fans.
Yeah, figures. Oh, but Elk says you missed the best joke above. Okay. The joke above, I believe, was this one. She dreams of reporting Superman to HR. That is what a woke woman means when they dream of a guy.
Well, okay, now I do need to make a quick. I was wanting to try to get this under an hour, so this will actually. I know I said we'd try to do 3 articles tonight, but considering
Obviously, we're going to get 2.
Kind of sidetracked a little bit. This is going to be the last art, so we're just going to do 2 because I wanted to try to get it under an hour tonight. So,
and that might be hard with this article because it looks a bit long, but it's hard to say. Anyways, on with if
they and we're already at the 45-minute mark. So if they think the character designs for Lois and race swapping Jimmy is inherently acceptable, their quote unquote fandom is as disputable and doubtful as Campbell's is. That they even employ her in some capacity is just as dismaying. And then back to the article they're referencing, of course. This story deals with a villain who I love. The comic hasn't named him yet, but it's pretty apparent. This is an adaptation of one of my favorite underrated Justice League villains, Amazo, or Amazo, however you want to pronounce it. Amazo. He even kind of has the pointed ears. You've adapted a lot of characters already, with more to come. What are the internal guidelines you follow when you're figuring out how you want to take someone from the core DC universe and bring them into this world?
I know. How can we ruin this character the most?
Yeah. That's the code, right, Rick? And then this is, I guess, Josie's answer to the question. Yeah, I mean, there's kind of.
And I have to say one other thing. Amazo underrated? I don't think so.
Yeah. And one is sillier, which is just, do I like them? A lot of the characters we feature, besides being some of them being core Superman characters. A lot of them are just, do we like them? Have I been a longtime fan of them? Like, I love Deathstroke, so Slade's in the show. We love Task Force X and Amanda Waller, so they're in the show. And for the comic specifically, looking at it, we wanted to keep that sort of the sort of same feel as the show, the same sort of approach to the villains, because the second more serious part is, we look at what we feel the core of that villain is. Who is the person? Or who is the creature or thing or robot or whatnot? And what do we best remember them for?
Yes, and then after all that, we take it and we throw it out and we say we're going to do the opposite.
And then kind of like fitting them into our universe, where we kind of change them a little bit and modernize them.
Good Night Smoothie says they are related to superheroes and comics. I guess you could ask. No harm in asking, right?
Right. Well, I'll still try to answer the questions if you ask them. It's just that, again, I would prefer, of course, you stay on topic, but I get that sometimes, like for example, with the Rokita question earlier, I know that's a big story going around right now. Everybody's got questions about that. So, anyways, see what he has to say. A, why does everyone like the boys? B, why do you like the boys?
Do you know what The Boys is?
I don't.
It is well, it's actually a comic. It was developed as a comic first, and it's
Oh
been
wait,
made
okay,
into,
that
I
part I do
think.
know. Yeah, I have heard it because I've seen the articles on them. But I've just not really paid attention. It's not something that's grabbed my attention. So yeah, it's one of
And
those.
then,
It
of
was a
course,
comic first, and then developed into a TV show. Is that what it was?
yeah, yeah. So, well, I haven't read the comic myself. I actually do like the TV series The Boys. Um, it's just I think it's because it's of the absurdity of it for the superhero thing. It's and somehow realistic at the same time. Good night, Spoon says I retract my question.
All right. So, anyways, let's get through this. So, the runaway robot at the center of the first issue looks like it escaped from Ivo's lab in episode 4. Like it looks like Parasite. It's connected to Ivo. Um, Also on our show, we connected Ivo to Parasite because we thought it'd be really cool to like have this like techno organic parasite being created by a Superman villain, but also just like a horrible DC guy. That's basically it. Do we like that character? And when we're changing them, do we make sure we still retain the core essence of who that character is? Or deepen the character in the some specific way that makes us like them and see a whole new facet to them. I wonder how Avi's going to answer this one.
Now,
At
I
this,
must say, I could see a connection to from Amazo to Parasite just because of what Parasite does. I could see Ivo wanting to experiment on Parasite and figure out how to do that and replicate it in a robot. I could see that.
so at this point, one can wonder why we're supposed to quote unquote like villains, even honorable ones, even more than heroes. Villain
Oh,
worship.
I'm sorry, Abby. Everybody loves good villains. You know, that it's just a staple. Some people like the villains as much, if not more, than the heroes in comicdom. And if he doesn't know that, he needs some serious help.
Yeah. Villain worship's long gotten out of hand, and this is decidedly no exception. But most telling is when Campbell speaks of quote unquote modernization, which here means making Lois so unattractive, and again race swapping Jimmy as though being white was wrong to begin with. And now
Uh,
back to the interview that
and Goodnight Spoon says the reason he thinks everybody likes the boys is because it's fun. Anyways, on with this.
yeah, so this is from the interview they were doing. So well, that's actually a perfect bridge to the next thing I want to talk about. I've had the chance to talk to a lot of Superman writers in recent months, including Mark Waid and Jason Aaron, and I'll ask you the same question I asked them. Obviously, this is a new version of Superman in his own world. What do you see as the core immutable traits of Superman that have to be there in any version of the character? And then Josie responding here. For Superman, I think the most integral part of him is this drive to help. That Superman is someone who is crazy strong and powerful in so many ways. Instead of using that power to hurt people, he instantly turns around and uses that power to help people. And that to me is the core of Superman. And I think on whatever side of the argument you're on with what they're doing recently, I think everybody would agree with that aspect right there, right?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the cores and probably close to the top for sure. Uh, Good Night Spoon says, I have a question for Mike. Do you like Smut? And I have a question for Rick. Why do you like Smut? I don't consider the boys Smut. And then he says, I have a question for Elk. What is Smut?
Okay. I have a question for Mike. Do you like Smut? And I have a question, Rick. Why do you like Smut?
What do you consider? What would you
Smut.
say?
Is that like? Are you asking me if I'm into porn or anything like that? Is that what you're asking me?
Well, I think it's a step down or two from that.
I don't know. I don't engage in watching Smut or anything like that, or engaging in it or anything like that. So.
I think he needs to define his term.
Yeah. And I have a question for Elk. What is? Yeah, I guess Goodnight Spoon's being a little bit of a joker tonight, isn't he? But I guess that's him every night.
Yeah.
Not porn. Yeah. So, anyways. Okay, so my favorite Superman media, the Donner movies, the New Adventures of Lois and Clark, the Fleischer cartoons, it's all about a man who has the power to destroy the world and instead decides to save it. That really is Clark for us. Now, again, that's true, and we've watched. Sure, all of us have seen at least two, if not all three of those. I mean, I know I've watched the Fleischer cartoons quite a bit. So.
Yeah, and we've seen the Donner movies. I know I've seen all of Lois and Clark.
Yeah. So anyway, it clicked for me, and that's the Clark you see in the show. It's why so often in season 1 he's like, quote, I just want to help people. I just want to reach out a hand and help others, unquote.
But with that, you're only focusing on one of his traits. There's so much more to him than that. He's just not that one dimensional.
Yeah. So, anyways, but that's what they're trying. That's of course what in part they're trying to do. They're trying to make white people one dimensional because it strengthens their argument as to why white people are bad, right?
Well, in this case, it's not helping. I wouldn't say that, but I get where you're going for sure. But it's just because he's one dimensional who wants to help. But fine, she likes that, and we're seeing that as a positive. Everybody would, I think, see that as a positive, but at the same time, making Superman so one dimensional isn't good for any show or whatever.
Yeah. So, anyways. And this sure is Rich coming. Okay, so this is Avi speaking again, and this sure is Rich coming from people who don't seem interested in helping improve the dire state of the mainstream, as evidenced in their woke approach to characterization. Aaron's even worse than Wade. Wade became as a writer and did not improve the situation with his politically correct approach to script writing. And back to the interview here. I'll also ask you the same question about Lois Lane because she's such an integral part of the story. What do you see as the most important core characteristics? Okay, and then she says here, and then Josie responds here, for Lois, quote, for Lois, oh man, I mean, quote, Spitfire, unquote, is the word that I think best encapsulates her, because I love every version of Lois, but I made everybody watch the Fleischer cartoons because the Fleischer Lois is jumping in the back of mobsters' vans. She's climbing inside rockets and stuff to get her
robot,
which is true. Which is true.
Climbing inside robots, not rockets.
Yeah. Well, no, both.
Both technically, but
there's one short where she climbed into a into like a rocket car, and another one where she climbed into. There were a couple where she climbed into robots as well. So,
but the article here says robots, not rockets.
Yeah. So, like, there's an episode where she straight up pickpockets Clark to take his press badge, so she can get a scoop before him. Yeah, that does sound like what a woke woman would do, what doesn't it, Rick?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. It sounds like somebody with not a lot of scruples would do to get a story, and that is Lois.
Yeah. And to me, that Lois, who is a go-getter, who doesn't quite understand how to pace herself, who doesn't quite understand the meaning of no, that is the first thing that is important to Lois. And it's why I love Lois and Clark together. I feel like Clark's love and compassion butts up against and complements Lois's need to get out there and get the story and get the scoop. She's helping people in her own way, but they're really two sides of the same coin. And then back to Avi here. Every version of Lois, you say? Well, not everyone likes the character design used in this cartoon. And that's why maybe what Campbell says could almost describe herself, since she's trying to, quote unquote, help satisfy the PC crowd. And then we get back to the interview here. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask about Supergirl. What can you say about her? Anything at all? And then Joji responds, I mean, you saw her in the season 2 trailer, and I think that's about all I can say. And then okay, so this is the last paragraph of the article. So Avi finishes up here saying, even if Kara Zor-El's mane isn't mutilated as Lois's was, something tells me this will be just as appalling. Here's decidedly another effort by SJWs of the modern era to drastically alter a famous creation solely to suit their narrow leftist agendas, and it's decidedly not something any sane person should tune in to see. The Man of Steel and his co-stars, regrettably, have long since had their potential drained by PC, and neither cartoon nor comic look very appealing. No need to get a cable subscription for the sake of this. All right, so there we go. And as I said, we're going to stop there with articles, but go ahead, Rick.
I was just going to say, and overall, not too bad of an article for Abby.
Yeah. And nothing outright controversial, but in his statements.
Yeah, not too wacky of statements or whatever. I think a couple of things I minorly disagreed with, but most of it I think he was right.
Let's see. All right, so I didn't fully think that one out, but throw Sam I Am in there somewhere. And then let's see. I grew up in an intermittently Christian home. I originally did not like smut in my entertainment. I changed my mind when I realized it forced authors or creators to describe human behavior without describing one of its main drivers. All right. Well, anyways, so now we're gonna get to the part of the show where we're gonna get to the wrestling wrap up here. Just some notes coming out. So on last night's NXT NXT show, as part of their working agreement with Total Nonstop Action, TNA Knockouts champion Jordan Grace made an appearance and challenged Roxanne Perez for the NXT Women's title coming up at their NXT's next pay-per-view Battleground. So that was brought up. And also, coming off of his recent release from AEW, Ethan Page made his debut on NXT, attacking Trick Williams, with the suggestion being that he and Trick had attacked another NXT guy. So that's some of the big news that is coming out. And it's as also been talked quite a bit about with Becky Lynch's contract coming up. A lot of people are still talking about whether or not she's going to go to AEW, or she's come out and said she's at least going to be taking a hiatus. She's not, right now, I guess her talk to the WWE as to renew her contract are kind of at a standstill, but she's apparently planning on taking some time off to focus on family life, as I mentioned last night. And now moving on to some AEW news. Let's see. So we talked about yesterday how like Mark Henry and Arn Anderson's contracts were coming up, and they would be leaving AEW. Another contract that's due to expire at the end of this week, this weekend. Jake Hager's contract is due up, and while there's been no indication as to where he'll go, he's not there, as AEW has had no plans for him. He will be leaving the company as well. He won't re-sign right now. With some in an interview that Arn recently did, he did talk about how after leaving AEW, he's going to focus on helping his son's career, Brock Anderson, who's currently wrestling in an independent promotion in the Carolinas, where he's currently teaming with C.W. Anderson as the Andersons, as that particular promotion's tag team champions, with Arn acting as their manager. So, oh boy. Anyway, and also on tonight's Dynamite, those who are interested in watching it, you can catch it on TBS, which comes from the Kia Forum in Inglewood, California. That's from my neck of the woods. In a non-title match, Swerve Strickland takes on the Patriarch member Killswitch. Swerve Strickland still is the AEW World Title. In another IWGP World Heavyweight Title Eliminator match, Rocky Romero challenges Jon Moxley for the chance to challenge Moxley for the IWGP World Heavyweight Title. The IWGP World Heavyweight Title, for those of you who don't know, that's the main title for New Japan. In a match for the AEW TBS title, Mercedes Moné takes on Sky Blue, and there will be a number one contendership match. Forbidden Door Casino challenge Swerve Strickland at Forbidden Door for the AEW World Title. The participants have not been named as of yet. So that's all we got for the wrestling wrap up for tonight. Of course, we'll have the results of that tomorrow, as it were.
Now on with this day in each history.
Right. Today being Wednesday, May 29th. Yeah, Wednesday, May 29th, 2024. Let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. History! So the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to wish a happy 50th birthday. Happy 50th birthday to Aaron McGruber. Aaron McGruber, who is, of course, an American writer, cartoonist, and producer. He's the creator of Boondocks. If any of you've seen Boondocks on Adult Swim or anything like that, this is the guy. So happy 50th birthday to Aaron Magruder, American writer, cartoonist, and producer. And moving ahead to 1984, as on this date in 1984, which was of course 40 years ago today, the first issue of Transformers from Marvel Comics went on sale. I believe this would have been volume 1. This since this came out in 84, around the same year that the cartoon came out. I believe this is based off of the G1 cartoon.
Yeah, loosely based. I do actually have this comic. I did not buy it when it came out, but I do have it.
So on this date, 40 years ago today, the first issue, and this series ran for 80 issues from what I saw. So
yeah,
the first issue of Transformers from Marvel Comics went on sale on this date back in 1984. It started as a bi-monthly book. It was 75 cents, 32 pages, no title. The story was written by Bill Mantillo, scripted by Ralph Macchio, not the Karate Kid Ralph Macchio. It's a different Ralph Macchio. Penciled by Frank Springer, inked by Kim DeMolder, lettered by Michael Higgins and Rick L. Parker, and then colored by Nelson Yomtoy. So the first issue of Transformers from Marvel Comics went on sale on this date back in, and I believe this was volume 1. I think there have been several others that come out since. So this is based loosely, as Rick just said, loosely off of the cartoon. Let's Goodnight Spoon has something to say here. Just to finish my thoughts from earlier, what if superheroes were evil? The dumbest concept of all time. Obviously, evil precludes them from being heroic. Well,
yeah,
I think though, I think there is some storytelling you can do by kind of switching the script, as it were, or flipping the script, as it were, where you have the heroes as villains and villains as heroes, right?
Yeah, that's not quite what he needs. For the boys, and that's what he's referring to, is most of the heroes, if not all the heroes in it, at least the major ones, behind the scenes, they really don't act like heroes, and they do, without people knowing it, they do more villainous type stuff, and they hide it, so to the general public, they seem like good guys, like the good guys from like DC or Marvel, but this corporation controls most of them, so it hides, the fact that they do this.
Yeah, as to the point I was making a few minutes ago, just look at Earth 3, right?
Yeah.
Earth 3 in the DC universe, that's where you have instead of having the Justice League of America and the Secret Society of Supervillains, you have the crime syndicate of America, and I don't know what the other side is called in that one, but anyway, don't don't support dumb shows. All right, so anyways, now getting on to the last piece of niche history, as 1984 is just so nice that we're gonna hit it twice. So also on this date in 1984, a couple of things that happened in the world of professional wrestling. First off, the NWA held its first show since the WWE held its first event in New York City since the formation of the WWF. Since basically the WWF had basically broken away from it. And yes, for those of you who don't know, the WWE was at one time an NWA affiliate. So a long time ago, and it took place in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Of course, this was 5 days after Ric Flair had regained the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, and he, of course, main evented this show, defending the NWA World Heavyweight title against Ricky Steamboat. Also on this date, Cyndi Lauper makes her first appearance in the WWF at the time as a guest on Piper's Pit, which would, of course, lead to her alliance with Wendy Richter during Wendy Richter's quest to become the WWF Women's Champion, as she was challenging the Fabulous Moolah. So that's all that happened.
Wooksie's here, and he says the WWF back before they got the F out.
Yep. Yeah. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope. Actually, before we do that, Rick, would you like to do an outro before we head out?
Anybody just go check out my stuff that I've done the last few days over on my channel, and if you like what you see, hit that like button, share. Like I've done put up a couple painting videos, and of course I interviewed a creator last night about the comic and campaign. So, and that was pretty good. The interview doesn't start till
Flair versus Steamboat. Yeah.
The interview doesn't start till about 40 or 45. Sorry. The interview doesn't start till about 40 or 45 minutes in.
All right.
I am going to actually do a evil version of the Canadian Shield at some point in my comic, although he won't call himself Evil Canadian Shield. I've created a character called Anti-Shield, which is going to be an evil version of the Canadian Shield.
All right. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here tomorrow night. We will be doing, of course, an Indie Comics Showcase from Bleeding Full tomorrow night. And then on Friday, Rick, you'll be back with me on Friday, as we will be as we'll be looking at comics on sale in February 1940. We'll be continuing our look there. We're looking at we'll be looking at books that went on sale from Quality Comics. We'll be looking at, of course, the features will include The Clock, Doll Man, Black X, and Invisible Hood. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. Woozy's suggesting something to you, Rick, here. Have him do a goatee like Star Trek. Yeah, that's how when they did the Mirror Universe stories. That's what they did originally. They put to kind of depict evil Spock from good Spock. They basically gave him a goatee. So with that, I thank everybody for.
Yeah,
I hope.
And that was only one character.
I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.